Angels and Answer Psychic Radio Show with clairvoyants Artie Hoffman and Sky Siegel every Thursday for a 2-hour show, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio. Artie and Sky deliver spiritual and motivational messages with passion and a sense of humor. Call in 800-930-2819 for live and on-air readings. Visit artiehoffman.com and skyofangels.com.
Get ready to rid yourself of all that is weighing you down and holding you back from living the life you want for yourself. Coming Clean, The Art of Transparency with Catherine Moss is a hit show for women in recovery who are ready to live life on purpose. Tune in and let Catherine help you live your truth one day at a time. Live each Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Have you ever tried to make lifestyle changes but had difficulty following through? Imagine what it would be like to get up each morning with energy, clarity, and motivation to tackle the day. If you want to get past limiting barriers that are preventing you from living your best life, join holistic health and wellness coach T. Carey Mitchell each month on the Dr. Pat Show. Or visit lifestyle120.com today and start to receive the personal attention you deserve.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Yeah, this is like I love to say this. You know, we're talking here with Claudette Rowley about cultural brilliance and Cultural Brilliance Radio. This is the DNA of organizational excellence. Each week, we take a topic that is so very important to building an organization and building a culture, you know, where everyone gets to participate in the creation of excellence. And that's what this is about. That's what Claudette does. That's how she works with organizations, individuals, to take a look at what is the essence of what you're trying to do. And she's created a phenomenal model that talks about authenticity, design, and integration. And along the way, you're going to hear a lot about this. You know, today, one of the hottest topics right now to be talking about is not just innovation as if it were just like hanging out there, but what it means to develop and build a culture of innovation. You know, what does that look like, feel like? How can people get excited about that? And that's why this is a really important topic, because we do want to get people excited about that. And one of the things, Claudette, you talk about is developing this mindset of innovation, not just once a year, let's have an innovative moment, right?
Exactly. Let's make it part of how we actually think in our organization, how we think and how we feel.
Yeah.
In innovative ways.
Yeah.
So when organizations adopt a mindset of innovation, it fuels and drives everything that they're doing. So it's not just, like you said, it's not a moment, it's not a team, it's not just a department, it's everybody thinking in an innovative way. And organizations that adopt this mindset, we start to see that, wow, at every level and every department and every team, there's innovation going on, no matter what that team or department is charged with, no matter what they're responsible for. So really, sometimes people will say, well, who can innovate in an organization? The answer is anybody. Anybody can be innovative. And if we're really listening, as we were talking about earlier in the show, if we're listening to each other and the leaders are open to listening, then when anybody innovates, those innovations can become part of the organization.
Yeah. And, you know, what are some of the challenges with this, right? I mean, and, you know, one of the things I talked about before break and you talked about is a couple of examples we just referred to. It's when, okay, I'm sitting up there and I'm thinking I'm the best one as the executive, or maybe the department head, maybe the executive director. I'm this person that knows exactly what my team needs. And so the farther up you go, the farther away you get from the people that are closest to the work. How do you go about this? How do you go about to engaging the people in the organization that are actually doing the work and bring them into the conversation?
I think it's fairly simple, at least on the surface.
Yeah.
Is that you invite them. We trust you. We know that you're close to this problem because you work in this particular room or with this particular machine or this system or process, whatever it is, day in and day out. And so we'd love your ideas about how we could improve this. What are some innovative approaches? Because we keep running into the same problems over and over again. And so you take people seriously, you trust them, and you have to, again, that word listening comes up. Listen to what they've shared with you and see where it fits and where it doesn't. And we all hear these stories about, it was this person in the mailroom, or it was this person down in the trenches, and they came up with a solution. And either the story usually goes and nobody listened, so then a big catastrophe occurred, right? Like Delta or Southwest, right, with their computer systems melting down.
Oh boy.
Or we did listen, and the person in the mailroom or in the trenches came up with this beautiful solution, and we implemented it, and it was amazing. But those stories often are these anomalies. Instead of what I think they should be is this should happen all the time. We should always be going to people at every different facet of our organization and saying, how would you solve this?
Yeah.
What would be your thoughts on this?
And what you're talking about is really creating a mindset of innovation, where it's not an anomaly, where people know that, hey, I've got a great idea. This is what I do with it. Because the old model is, I got a great idea. I'm going to talk to my boss about it. But if my boss doesn't think it's a great idea, the end stops there, right? And then what if my boss does think that it's a great idea, and then it goes from my boss to another boss? And that's the last connection we make with the person that actually had the idea. So don't we have to also move the boundaries that we create in organizations? Don't we have to blur lines a little bit to make this happen sometimes?
Yeah, and we see some organizations becoming, like Zappos, for example, it's known to be very innovative, becoming much flatter organizations because of that.
Yeah.
So someone you don't have to go through 15 layers of hierarchy to get to the top. And part of what happens, like to your point, is if, I have a great idea and I go to my boss and my boss says, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It gets squashed. So we need to let people have an opening. And one of the paradoxes we often see is that, especially as we know, with things moving so rapidly in our organizations and in our world, there's a paradox that organizations, and that could be an individual, a team, whatever, need to stay open long enough to allow innovation to emerge, that the creative process requires patience and space. We can't really say create faster and get the best results. Yeah. So it's that idea of slowing down to speed up. We have to put breakpoints in along the way where there is a slowing down and a spaciousness that allows the most creative ideas and solutions to actually emerge. And that's actually I believe part of the mindset of innovation.
Yeah, and let's just talk about something that refers, back to what you mentioned earlier. It is, we don't even define, it's hard to have a mental model of something if we're not even sitting there having a conversation about what innovation means for your organization. So, for example, if you just blow it out there and say innovation, and let's go back to Apple, and I'm Apple Computer, and you say innovation, and all of a sudden out of, somebody, they come up with the embrace idea, the incubator idea, right? Mm-hmm. And that idea is like, well, wait, that has absolutely nothing to do with the vision and the mission of Apple. That might be a great side project. So how does this work where you have these mental models, but the mental model is about the vision and the mission of the organization? Like, what does it mean for us?
Yeah, so the mental models, what does it mean for us? And also the mental model is how are we going to get stuck if we think in our industry we only do this, in our company we only do that, and things are done this way, and this is what we think is possible. I have a great example that might seem a little bit off the beaten path. This is an example that actually took place in India, and it was part of communication and change management, something called entertainment education. And some people went over there, and the idea that they were trying to deal with was to fight the devastating impact of the caste system, which, as many of us know, has been deeply rooted in India and many other places in the world for many, many years, hundreds of years. So they did something that seems a little counterintuitive. They created a radio soap opera as a way of changing long-held norms. And I love this story So 3 times a week, people who were listening to this radio show would hear the adventures of a bunch of characters who are facing the same problems as the listeners faced, all everyday people. And the writers, though, behind the radio programs wanted to encourage people to talk about this caste system, this debilitating system. And people people knew it should be abolished, but nobody was willing to really talk about it because people in certain levels of the caste were considered, quote unquote, untouchables. And part of the story around that is you couldn't talk about them. So nobody could talk about this issue except about the radio show. So at the end of each program, someone who was well known in that particular region would recap the events by asking questions like, what should these characters do next? How should they handle this really tough problem? And then people started to gather at work or at their pub or in their homes, and they actually would talk about the show. And what started to happen is that more people were doing things, who agreed that this caste system should be abolished. Individual families would start to invite people at different levels of the caste who normally would never come into their home to be invited into their home. And so the crux of the matter, the outcome ended up being that through this radio drama and the conversations that ensued, many of these practices that just debilitated and devastated a certain group of people in particular regions were gone in about a year. And so the story seems incredible until you think about this one fact about why it worked, is that the reason people were able to change this is because they finally were able to talk about it. And so it's a very elegant solution to a problem that no one had been able to handle for years. And it's that saying, you cannot change something until you can talk about it. And I think this is one of the most brilliant examples of innovation.
Yeah, I love that example because it really does point to the model that you've created for cultural brilliance. It really does go back to the authenticity arm of this. Because when you're talking about authenticity, to have an organization where people are not talking about what's actually going on doesn't really create a culture of innovation. And I think that example that you used is perfect for that, because you said it before, if we're not listening and we're not inviting the conversation, that same old happens. When we come back, we're going to talk about emerging innovations. What are the signs of an innovative culture? What are the 5 requirements that Claudette's going to share with us here to truly innovative company? Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Wow. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. I'm telling you, I got to pinch myself some days, because when each of us gets called to do something that we so not thought was in our wheelhouse to do for a purpose that's so much greater than us, we get to show up and shine.
If you would like to show up and shine on the Dr. Pat Show as a co-host or sponsor, send us an email to inspire@thedrpatshow.com.
Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers, with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com. Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown.
What is a brilliant culture? And how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you design a culture that is authentic, innovative, and successful. Learn how to create change with Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence, and Claudette Rowley. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit ClaudetteRowley.com.
Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from running your life?